You are listening to the audio portion of the QB Power Hour webinar series, your bi-weekly dose of insights and learning for accounting professionals with co-host Dan DeLong and Sharon Fuller. We're here to explore the latest in the industry, QuickBooks, and integrations that matter to you. For more details on the series, visit qbpowerhour.com.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to another QB Power Hour with Sharon and Dan. And we are starting this new evolution of what the QB Power Hour is going to be. And part of it is coming up with some recurring series. And the first one that we're starting off with is called the Open Tab, which we used to call very sterilely QuickBooks updates. So we're lumping this all into this title called the Open Tab. So we appreciate you joining us here today. We do have some updates about the QB Power Hour that we want to talk about, as well as what's going on in the QuickBooks world. My name is Dan DeLong, owner at Danwith and School of Bookkeeping. And Sharon is also joining us.
Hi, guys.
If you're just joining us for the first time, you're in a state of flux. So we are every other Tuesday at noon Eastern. We are not eligible for CPE credit for the live webinars, but we do have a whole year on the on the Earmark channel where you can get some CPE credit for last year's. And while we're talking about updating the webinar, and if you didn't join us last week when we sat down with Sharon and talked about some of the things that she's gone through, she has pointed out that I'm pretty scattered when it comes to the QB Power Hour. And one of the things that we've realized is that we want to, based on your feedback from last week, as well as in the Facebook group, we are going to be a little bit more, what's the word, Sharon?
Efficient, streamlined, process, focused.
All the things that we need to do, because I realized that one of the things, I was watching this quote or speech by Nick Saban, the former coach of the Alabama Tide, and he was giving a story that said we went out fishing and there was another fisherman who was catching fish left and right, and he was throwing the big ones back and keeping like the medium-sized ones. So he finally asked him, hey, why are you throwing away the big ones? And his response was, I only have a 9-inch frying pan. And
oh my God. Oh my God. Tag yourselves. Sorry.
So it made me, working with Sharon on the co-hosting duties here, she made me realize that there's other frying pans available. That
you were the one with the medium fish. You're the medium fish.
Exactly.
Okay,
because I've realized that I've been doing things a certain way just because I've been doing things a certain way.
That is insanity. Literally.
What we are planning to do is to do the QB Power Hour solely on Zoom. And we're also, one of the things that we were doing in the past to make it real easy for you as a registrant of QB Power Hour is to make this a recurring series. And what we're going to be doing is actually being deliberate. Over the next couple months, we are going to be transitioning to solely individual webinars that you register for, right? So that way, it's going to accomplish one of two things, or several things. One will be that you can put on your calendar the topic that you've registered for, because the challenge is if you put the QB Power up on your calendar, it's whatever topic was at the point where you put it on your calendar. When you get a calendar alert about some topic that happened 2 years ago because you put it on your calendar.
And you're all excited, and then you show up, and they're like, it's Dan and Matt, and you show up, and I'm here, and you're really disappointed. That's not my fault. I'm not in charge of that.
Starting next time, the 17th, we will go to an individually registered for topic. Now, we'll keep this recurring series open for those that didn't get the memo. So the people that maybe aren't here today, but were here last time, will come up. There will be, what's the word? The boilerplate or the welcome screen. Waiting room. That's the word.
There you go.
The waiting room will have a way to quickly register for the active one that day.
Oh.
So in the meantime, that's just something to realize. The podcast is not going to be as quick turnaround. That's going to be the podcast audio of our webinar will be delayed. So if you are listening on the podcast today,
so you gotta be live, yo. You gotta be live.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just gonna have to wait. I don't know what to tell you. You know, you just wait. You either there or you wait for the good things, and that's just how it is. But one thing I wanted to add, we're coming up with these topics. Is there anything you guys want to hear about? Is there anything we haven't covered? Is there anything you'd love to hear my snarky opinion on, or Dan give you some really good insight on? Let us know. We're putting some things together. We're pretty excited about some of the upcoming topics, but are we missing the mark? What do you guys, a lot of you I see are here every single week, and we should like send you a fruit basket or a bottle of something, but let us know if there's something you're like, I would love if you talked about X.
So our series that we're going to be cycling through, the open tab, which will be the Intuit news, product updates, common questions that we've seen in the Facebook group. Tech It to the Limit will be all about apps and technology that augments QuickBooks. Beyond Bookkeeping will be focusing on advisory services, things that elevate your practice and your prices. Niche Nuances, which will all be about specific industry types. We had one a couple times ago, Is the Grass Greener, which will be evaluating alternatives to QuickBooks.
Oh.
And then one that we did last year, we did this app showdown, where it's more of an app Thunderdome, where two apps of similar types of they solve the same problem, right? They're out there. You know who they are: payroll providers or spend management platforms. That's what we did last year, where we did Ramp versus Corpay One, where two apps actually get talked about at the same time, or multiple apps where you can help, or the goal is you can choose the right one for you and your clients, not just one only. So today, our agenda is going to be about these topics. So we'll talk about the construction edition from Intuit Enterprise Suite, as well as what's available in QBO Advanced. QB Payments, we'll talk about some of the updates there. Inventory updates, our new oxymoron, Intuit Intelligence. And then Intuit Accountant Suite updates, and if time permits, some Facebook group Q&A. So, start our first poll question. I did put the slide handout in the chat.
I got this.
Thank you.
There you go.
I did put the slide handout in the chat. So if you're looking for the handout, it should be visible there to download. If not, please let us know. All right. While you're answering that first one, let's talk about Construction Edition. So this is hot off the presses from February 11th. So a lot of new information here, as far as a lot of things could have transpired between the 11th and now. But Intuit Enterprise Suite was announced in at Intuit Connect that this is the first vertical or industry specific edition that QuickBooks Online Intuit Enterprise Suite is going to address, which just makes sense because it's one of those industries that is conducive to QuickBooks Online, field service management, construction, job costing, those types of things, which if you look at the evolution of QuickBooks Online in the past, that was pretty much the same trajectory for QuickBooks Online. It served non-inventory based companies better than those that needed those workflows. Karen, any thoughts on that type of industry as the first one for Intuit to go after or look at?
Dan, I'm gonna be real with you. I wasn't listening very much, but now that you just answering questions over here and typing things down, yes. So I used to be my specialty for a while because construction I loved it because they're the most unorganized dudes, but their industry's complex. They have all these different liens going on. And I also love construction because the guys are like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do your job. You just do your job. I do my job. Help me make money. And they were my favorite to work with because they never questioned. But yeah, I think the reason, because construction does need an advanced level, you can't just use Simple Start. You can't use the regular QuickBooks Online and properly run a construction company without 800 plugins. So I do see that this is a good place for them to go for job costing, for their projects, I can't even think of the word right now, but your project invoicing, right? You progress anyhow.
Progress invoicing.
Progress invoicing. I haven't done construction in a while in any level. But yeah, no, I think it's actually pretty smart. And I know we don't hear me say that much about Intuit, but I think that this is a good one to tackle because there's a lot of other software coming out that's trying to say, hey, move everything over to this. In fact, I have a client that they've created some of these things, but not the accounting piece. So it is pretty smart in my opinion.
And especially those kinds of businesses, they tend to have smaller multiple entities, right? Which is, you have a holding company or you have not a practice management, rentals. What is it? I can't think of the term. Where you're managing the rent.
Property manager?
Property management, yes. So you have a property management company and they're maybe doing their own, creating an entity for a spec home that they're building or things like that, where it's completely separate. And that also tends to navigate or gravitate towards the Intuit Enterprise Suite features of multiple entities and the being able to add that dimension to those multiple entities. So it does make sense. Market here today. You said smart. And I said
I don't throw those words out easily. We all know this. We all know this.
It's getting rated on a 1 to 5. No one's a 5, but today. Today,
I mean, I give credit where credit's due, and I also like playing devil's advocate. When they do something, it makes sense. It makes sense. But anyhow.
Yeah. So the construction edition is a compilation of several features. And somebody asked in the chat, is the add-on free? No. Simply enough, it's not.
Come on, guys.
Don't put it past them to automatically include that. Because if you're getting more features, you should.
Even if you don't need them, do not want them, and will not use them, you will be charged for them. That is the new Intuit motto.
So the suite of features, and it's very similar to what with the different QuickBooks Desktop precious metals of silver, gold, platinum, you get a feature set by that different edition, right? So the construction edition is categorizing in these various feature sets, right? So the project phases is something that is part of that. Of course, it's very important to a construction company to be able to put it in phases and bill and budget for each of those phases. Cost groups is another aspect of that. Project budgeting enhancements, so you'll be able to budget by phase, those types of things. And then you'll have a proposal process, as well as a transaction type, a unique transaction type called change orders. If you were using QuickBooks Desktop, the change order feature in QuickBooks Desktop was an amendment to the original estimate with just details of what was changed. So it's basically like having an audit trail on your transaction. Here, change orders are actually a separate transaction type, right? So you'll be able to have your main quote, your proposal, and then changes as they occur. We'll have that in there. And then AIA style invoicing. I love the way that they put style invoicing. And for some reason,
what's AIA style? Automated integration.
No, it's association of.
Oh, so I am not even close.
The architects. Okay. I don't know what happened with the live stream, but that's why we're. That's why we're just doing.
I got this.
That's why we're just doing this in Zoom moving forward, because we get distracted by all.
Isn't restream my job too? I am failing left and right. Yeah, it's just gone.
I did it. I did it and started it. Yeah, so it was going, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, it stopped. Anywho, so we're actually going to comb through this on March 31st, the QB Power Hour. We will have an industry specialist, Shauna Quinn, who has spent the last decade or so focusing on the construction special trades industry as her niche. And so we'll comb through some of these specific features in QuickBooks Intuit Enterprise Suite, as well as the add-on for advanced. But the add-on, I don't know, do I have a slide? No, I don't have a slide for that. So the advanced add-on, from what I've seen, it's a $75 per month add-on for those specific features. There is going to be a difference between what you have in Intuit Enterprise Suite and what in advanced. The minutia of that we'll talk about on the 31st QB Power Hour. So we'll be evaluating IES and that construction add-on, as well as talking about some of the specific business needs of the construction industry and the special trades. Moving on to QB payments updates. Are you okay?
That's how I feel about it.
There was an email that came out about Affirm being added, or being a payments option in QuickBooks Payments. Affirm is one of the more popular buy now, pay later options. Do you have any clients that have ever used Affirm as a payment method, Sharon?
No. like get a credit card like an adult, you weirdos. No, just kidding. No, I haven't. I know. I've tried it once or twice just because it's cool, right? It's free for me. And then on some of my courses, I offer it because anyhow, it's free. You're not paying the interest. So but you pay it on the back end. So it's
right.
But still.
Yeah. And
I've also seen clients that have not paid back their Affirm. And let me tell you, they send the mob after you. All the mob that's no longer working in Vegas started Affirm. And now they go to your door. So don't think you can get away from it. That's all I got. Go ahead.
But the general idea, if you've never experienced it or used it, is that Affirm is one of the payment options that allows you to purchase it now and pay it over time. So
I know, pay later.
Typically you'll have 4 installments. And as Sharon had correctly mentioned, the collection part of that is the burden of that is on a firm. So if you don't pay, if you don't make
Not
the payment,
a firm, not like firm, but a firm.
Right. Yeah, they need to change their name.
You get your money right away. I mean, it only works. It's only wrong because of us, or sounds funny, but you get your money right away. They're like, a firm's, oh, hey, so we collected 1,000, you get 980, and now they can pay us back that 1,000, and you get your 980 now. So it's like a loan, and it's super. When you add it, I think they just confirm that you are who you say you are and all that stuff. So anyhow, I think, again, it's smart. Some of us have very high. It is, again, it's another good thing to add, and they're everywhere. Right. And
yeah, if you are charging someone a large service fee for a cleanup, right, for something like that, you can add this to your invoices out of QuickBooks, and then they can pay over time rather than you having to deal with the collections of, okay, I'm going to send you another invoice once we're progressed through, or so far so much billing. The advantage here is that Affirm fees are pretty high because they are taking the risk of
all the risk,
the customer not making those pay later payments. I've had we'll typically see this with a lot of e-commerce sellers. Shopify offers Afterpay, Affirm, and those types of things. And the fees are in the range of, for the customer that I was working with the firm, it was like 5-6%.
Yeah, right? It's higher, but you get your money right then, and
So the advantage here is that you can just turn on Affirm inside of QB Payments. So over on the right side of the little manage pane that comes up on the invoices, where you can add Venmo, PayPal. Now you're going to have this other option for Affirm. And the nice part is that it's all consolidated under the QuickBooks Payments fees. So even though if you had done this independently, sent them an Affirm link and charged the 5% fee, they charge you the 5% fee because Affirm pays out just like anybody else. When they get an order, they make the payment or the batch to deposit to you, and then they take out their fees. The fees are homogenized into the QuickBooks Payments account. So just like when you do PayPal or Venmo, it's whatever your e-invoice rate is, you sending an invoice to your customer and then choosing to pay. You don't have to worry about what the discount credit card fee is for American Express, Discover, PayPal, Venmo, or Affirm now to be able to do this and take that payment method. So that's an advantage, right? You get your money up front and you don't have to pay the Affirm fees if you added it on separately. It's one of those things that if you don't see it now, you'll see it later. New customers will get this stuff first, and then it will roll out to people as they see fit. So we did have a couple posts in the Facebook group about payments links. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what payment links are and the pros and cons of that. So payments links are in QuickBooks Online. They can be single use or multiple use. You can create links or you can create QR codes with those payment links. There's limited customizations as far as being able to change how they appear, right? Because they are standardized to receive a payment. And you'll have a dashboard on the inside of QBO, you'll have a dashboard, and you also see it in desktop as well. But desktop does not have the multiple use options. A lot of people will say, hey, this is great for, sending invoices is great. However, I would like to put a donation link on my nonprofit's website, or I want to.
Oh, I was just gonna say I'd want to put a donation link on my stuff too.
Right.
Donate.
Yes. Donate to Sharon. Or if you have a regular fee that you want people to just be able to make payments on your website, you can do that with a multiple use payment link. But that's why I have the but. The transactions are void of details, right? So it doesn't really tell you what the product was sold, especially in the multiple use manner. It doesn't even tell you the customer, right? If you need that stuff, don't use payment links to do that, because ultimately when the payment is downloaded, it's downloaded as a sales receipt, and that the information on there is not editable. So then you end up having to come up with creative workarounds to, instead of it going from services to whatever income account services is going to, you're limited on what you can do. So if one was for one service and one payment was for another, then you would want to do invoices instead, because those transactions aren't editable. In the slides, there's a link to Intuit's YouTube video, which is very well done, I think, as far as what you can do in that. All right, and on School of Bookkeeping, we do have a free payments resource for QuickBooks payments resource. Anyone can access this for free, including your clients, because I know that the Merchant Account Center with the support and options there has not been updated since probably a decade. So want to stay on top of those things, and you can access the course there as well. You can refer your clients if you wanted to, and they get the Pro Advisor rate for doing that. All right, moving on to inventory. Any thoughts about those two things, Sharon, about the
so many thoughts. I can't even understand. I know I listened to you because the chat's going wild. Yeah, I mean, something Greg, who last time was Sharon, as we all know, was saying is that once somebody pays, you can go in and edit the invoice, and you can, which I think that somebody's paying online via that, they probably should be able to, but it won't adjust the payment anyhow. But no, not really. Payment links, great. You guys just don't forget, as of right now, you can turn these things off. You don't have to offer all of them. You can say ACH only, or you don't affirm only. You get to make the decision as of now. In 2 weeks, when Dan gives another update, that may not be the situation, but as of now, you can turn it off and just use Anchor like I do. They're not paying for this. I need to quit saying nice things about them until they give us money.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell them.
Well, let's move on to the inventory enhancements. 5 things we want to talk about here is long-awaited sales orders finally and made it to QuickBooks Online. Item receipts. We haven't heard that topic in a long time. Moving average cost, weighted average for those of you desktop users, and then physical count upload, or doing physical counts inside of QuickBooks. And then there's an inventory add-on. So I did put the price there, so anybody who was asking if adding on inventory is free, no, it's not, but we'll talk about that. So talking about sales orders, they are a new non-posting transaction, and it can be created from an estimate. So if you have an estimate and a proposal, you can turn your estimates into sales orders. It is just another non-posting transaction. From everything that I've read so far, when you're dealing with inventories, we're talking about inventory enhancements, one of the features or functions of a sales order in desktop was the ability to deduct the available quantity. So if you have 10 on hand and you put 5 on a sales order, you have 5 less available to sell. I have not seen that this sales order does that, right? So that function or feature that was tied to what sales orders do in desktop does not seem to have made its way over to the QuickBooks Online sales orders. But you can, it is that middle ground where you maybe have your quote, the wish list of what they wanted to order on the estimate, and then you can have as they're shipped and those types, and as it's fulfilled, you can have a separate transaction which can then be billed separately. So that feature, which a lot of people were using, that they weren't too concerned about the inventory part because they were not doing inventory, would allow them to do that.
Hey, Dan, are the inventory enhancements in Sandy's asking in all versions or just advanced?
These are all, anytime that you have I don't know that there is a different differentiator between the inventory functions and plus versus advanced. So I haven't been told one way or the other, but I'm assuming, and we know what happens when we assume, that this is for all versions of QuickBooks that includes that, because when we get to the add-on, you can actually add on inventory in Simple Start or Essentials. And all of these features come along for the ride, right? So item receipts, this is the transaction between the purchase order and the bill that didn't exist for forever, right? This is the reality that happens when you order things off of a purchase order and what actually shows up. So the item receipt in QuickBooks Desktop, all versions except for the ones with enhanced receiving, which we'll talk about shortly, is when you have a received quantity but not the bill, right? And in QuickBooks Desktop, that function was an item receipt was, in simplest terms, was a bill you couldn't pay. It actually affected the exact same accounts that a bill would, but if you tried to go to pay bills, you couldn't pay it. That's the simplest way I could describe an item receipt. So the reality of you received merchandise in December and then you get a bill for it in January, under that circumstance, you would have to turn the item receipt into a bill and choose one of those dates as the source of truth, which either changes when you've received your quantity on hand, or it changes when you account for the bill. So that was never a great solution. And then in Enterprise Desktop, they introduced this option of the enhanced receiving, which allowed you to split those two events into events that were completely separate. So you could have the inventory come in on a certain day, and then when the bill came, you would actually be able to create the bill and keep those two things separate. If they were across different periods, if something had changed, you could make those modifications and keep them separate. So when you are choosing, when you go into preferences now, you'll have an option to choose how are you receiving merchandise, bills only, or in the item receipt. You have to choose one of them. And this is one of those features or settings that you cannot change. I think that's on the next one. Yes. So when you go to settings, sales, and products and services, you have inventory receiving method dropdown, and you can choose bills and expenses to do that, or item receipts. And then you get a nasty warning as soon as you
That's nasty.
as soon as you choose the item receipts, it gives you're permanently switching from bills to item receipts to receive inventory. The way this works and the way that QuickBooks Enhanced Receiving works in desktop is all of your items are going to need to be recorded. The receipt of that merchandise needs to be done on an item receipt, because every bill that mentions an item will go to and from. So the item receipt posts natively to this account called inventory offset. And then when the bill comes, that's the clearing account that the bill offsets to for that item receipt to be received against, right? So that's the mechanism that QuickBooks will use. So if you change to item receipts as your receiving inventory method and you enter in a bill without entering an item receipt first, your the financial impact of that bill will be all off, because it will offset completely to inventory offset for all of your inventory items.
Has me like I'm half our Q&A is going nuts over here, and I didn't realize everybody could see all my answers. So now I'm worried that mine and Bert's conversation is just insane. But does it, like, when I hear this, I used to, back in the day, it was QuickBooks desktop only, right? Like online wasn't a thing. And I only used QuickBooks for all of this stuff, but inventory, all the things. Online didn't even do it back then. But I'm hearing all of this and I'm just thinking, I don't want to use QuickBooks inventory. I want to plug something in that has a better functionality. And again, just use the GL. Like this just seems, you just explained so much that my head about exploded, that I would, if I was actually handling inventory clients, be like, no, we're going to use what's just mentioned. And like you and I are hopefully going to get on the show as Fishbowl. Again, I'm not going to say their name once more until they pay us. But I kid. But yeah, this is nuts. I'm just back here absorbing what you're saying, Dan.
Well,
just so you know.
This was a very, like, when you need this type of thing, it's super helpful, right? But this is like an advanced thing, and inventory in QuickBooks Online is nothing like advanced, right? It is, we would kindly refer to it as inventory light, right? It's of the three.
Yeah, I guess so.
Of the three categories of inventory management, of I buy stuff and I sell that stuff, QuickBooks Online works pretty well for that, right?
Yeah.
And if you need to separate those two events, great. This will actually work for you. But if you get to the next level of complication with inventory management of I buy stuff, I do something to that stuff, then I sell something else, that's where you're getting into the advanced inventory of units of measure and assembly items and planning for those types of things. And then you get into this, I buy stuff, I put it in all sorts of different places stuff, and then I go around and I pick it up and I need to trace it because it's food. What are you spinning?
This is my fishbowl pin. I was just showing that I do. Fishbowl, it's right here. I have, every time I see them, sorry. I was showing Casey that I've got a fishbowl pin. You keep doing your thing, Dan. I've got a whole other webinar going over here.
Yeah, it's the sub-webinar that the webinar within a webinar that I'm getting distracted by. But
I'm sorry.
The inventory management inside of QuickBooks Online works fairly well for that reseller type of thing, where I buy stuff, I buy those hard goods, whatever they happen to be, and I don't do anything to them other than put them on a shelf or sell them, right?
Yeah. So for more simple, just like simple, my last firm that I had, it was niche. I don't say niche. I say anyhow. A lot of health and wellness. We had a lot of chiropractors, and most all of them would have supplements. Super easy. Kept it in QuickBooks. It was just I almost said FAFO.
FIFO.
FIFO. I live life as FAFO, but yeah, we would just, it was super simple. No need to have all this craziness. You'd keep 4 or 5 bottles of each online. Anyhow.
Now, speaking of FIFO, the inventory enhancements have now gone to a costing method of moving average cost or weighted average, which is the idea of what do you have on hand? What did it cost you to get all of those items? Here's the average for all of that. So when you sell one of them, that's what shows up on your cost of goods sold, right?
Mm-hmm.
So inventory has always been first in, first out. People who have moved or migrated from QuickBooks Desktop, tracking their inventory in weighted average, moving over to QuickBooks Online now have this extra task of informing the IRS that they're going to be accounting for that in, first out, because that was the only method of cost calculation for inventory inside of QuickBooks Online. According to the what is it? I had a complete.
I was like, did you freeze too? What's happening? Dan's on Restream.
According to the In the Know webinar,
there you go.
They are enhancing the migration, desktop migration, so that when you migrate from QuickBooks Desktop that is on weighted average, you'll have the choice to choose moving average cost as the method, so that way you don't have to make those changes. I did a conversion, but right before the webinar today, it did not give me that choice. So something is not updated, or maybe I need to restart my machine or something. It didn't give me that choice in desktop.
Unplug it and plug it back in.
Yeah.
It almost always works.
But you do have this option of changing it once you're in there. All right. And then the inventory add-on.
Just one more add-on. Just after the construction, the inventory.
Yeah. Which, if you haven't noticed,
buy a whole human being to sit there and keep spreadsheets moving. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean buy a human being. I meant buy the hour as an employee.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
If you haven't noticed, the diamond inside of QuickBooks, it indicates that it's an add-on service, right? You open up the all apps and go into inventory. If you don't have a plan that includes inventory, you'll see this diamond option. It's $40.
What's the difference? If you need inventory, what's the difference? Say I'm essentials. What's essentials, like $45 now?
No, it's $75 for essentials, which.
And what's plus?
It's the $115, $40 difference.
Oh, so they make
it makes
it makes the same thing, and you get more. You can get more features.
Like if you need projects, if you need projects or budgets or any of the other plus features,
just get the plus.
It's easier or better just to upgrade your entire
subscription.
Anybody
that did not feel like mathing today, we got you covered.
Yeah. So Simple Start, right? Simple Start being $38 and adding on, then that puts you at $78. So if you don't have a need for the other essentials or plus features, then you can just add it on, and you'll see that when you go to the app and then click the diamond, and then it will prompt you through the whole process of adding it on to your subscription.
Dan, real quick, we keep getting some things, and I know this is off. We don't have a script, guys. I don't even look at these slides before I get here. We had this conversation. Someone asked last time. It's been asked twice today. Ledger. How does Ledger come into play in all of this? Ledger does nothing. I've never even tried it. And I should, because all I say is that's all that's worth. But can you upgrade anything on Ledger? Or Ledger's, we don't have upgrades. You're either Ledger or your essentials or.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. But the simplest way
Murph is saying it's no more for new potential clients. So remember we talked about that? You're like, no, I can add it. But then there's other people saying that they can't add it.
Yeah, we do need to get to the bottom of Ledger, but the simplest way
episode, guys.
simplest way for me to describe Ledger to somebody who is familiar with the QuickBooks ecosystem, it's simple start without customers, right? So you have the simple start feature set, but you don't have anything that's related to a customer. You don't have invoices. You don't even have a customer list.
Almost all the clients. I'm like, please stop, because they put everything in Shopify, and then that all went to the balance sheet anyways in a clearing account. So they could have totally used that. I didn't mess with it. I didn't do the day to day, but
you can add payroll to Ledger. You can add.
You should never add QuickBooks payroll to anything.
Well, I'm saying you can, not saying that you should.
You should. Two different things here, guys. I will never advocate for QuickBooks payroll, ever.
And so we'll never have QuickBooks payroll coming on the Power Hour.
I don't think QuickBooks will ever come on here, ever.
Anymore.
I'm gonna get a cease and desist and a no trespass for Connect this year. I'm waiting for it.
So other inventory features, the physical count. So you can create multiple counts. So you don't necessarily have to close the whole shop in order to count something. You can create a new count, put those particular items on it, and then go around and make your quantity counts, and then you'll be able to, it will create the inventory adjustment for you. It promises to be able to have people upload these. I have not seen the option to be able to do that in any of my research prior to the webinar today. So that is probably a future state, but you can create multiple counts and put different items on them and then continue with them while you're as needed. And we have some resources at School of Bookkeeping all about the inventory. We have an inventory fundamentals course. We have an e-commerce fundamentals course, tracking inventory in QuickBooks Online. So if you have further questions about the capabilities of QuickBooks Online, and we did a workshop comparing Desktop Enterprise with online cloud solution Katana, which we've had on a couple times on the webinar here. But we did a side-by-side, right? Like we basically went through all of the advanced inventory features in Enterprise and compared that to an online inventory management solution. All right, next poll question.
All right, I'm ready for this. Do you feel the features?
You feel the features are being added by QBO?
It wasn't numbered in my defense. I was waiting to see what it was. Okay.
Yeah. Do you feel the features being added by QuickBooks Online are helping or hindering you from supporting your clients? And while you're answering that, let's talk about Intuit Intelligence. So I had a good experience. I had a good experience with it. We talked about it just last time about this Ask Intuit Anything. We didn't see it then, but now it's annoyingly visible, I think is probably the easiest way to describe it. If you haven't seen it, I don't know. They have certainly made it front and center, because when I go to click on the gear and then all of a sudden the drawer opens up and Intuit Intelligence saying, what would you like to know? And I'd like to click on the gear to invite a user or whatever it is that I need to click the gear on. But I had a good and bad experience with it, and I wanted to talk about that. So there's a companion slider. It's going to be on the business feed. It's accessible anywhere. If you do have a full screen, if you're looking at something in the upper right, you will see the Intuit Intelligence icon that you can access. I don't know if can I make this bigger? No, I can't. But it's this blue gradient circle, right? Accountant users get to see all their chats in IAS, right? So if you have created a conversation with Intuit, the Intuit AI, you'll be able to see all that in your history right inside your Intuit accountant suite. If you're on Core, you get 200 prompts. If you're on Accelerate, you get 1,000 prompts, presumably to spread across your teams. All QBO plans will have 25 prompts that you can ask. I don't know if you are an accountant and you go into a client and then you ask a prompt, if that counts against yours or theirs. But either way, you have some included prompts to choose from. Additional prompts inside of your QuickBooks. Subscriptions are $10 for 100. They were originally calling these questions, but I think now people are standardizing things as far as it's a prompt. So if you ask a follow-up question, that is also a prompt as well. And they're managed through billing and subscription. So you can see the history of the subscription and you'll be able to add or cancel it as the case may be. Because I imagine once you've added 100 for $10, it'll probably auto renew and you may not need it next month or what have you. But I wanted to talk about a good experience. So the situation was in Advanced, there is a pretty good estimates versus actual report. There was a significant amount in this client's file for not specified. They were running QuickBooks payroll and they were doing job costing at the same time. So I knew that non-specified was related to the payroll job costing because the estimates versus actual is the rows are service items. So that's where you put your cost codes, right? So inside of payroll, there is no such thing as a service item on a paycheck. So anything that is related to a job cost with QuickBooks Online Payroll is going to be thrown in not specified. So I knew the answer, but because of the classic versus modern reports and drilling in on the not specified number, which would normally give me a report telling me this is where it came from, was making just a circular loop. So it would take me back to projects, and then I would click on the estimates versus actual and see the same thing. So I was like, hey, Intuit Intelligence, what is this number? Where did it come from? And in a matter of, I don't know, a minute, it walked through this entire process and telling me the report that you want to run is the payroll cost by job report, and that's what I'm doing. And then it chugged along, and then it came up with the breakdown of where that number came from by employee.
Okay, so it's getting better, and it's also learning. Yes, I talk crap about Intuit a lot, but I'm just saying what we're all thinking. Like I said, I don't know they'll ever hop off of their GL. Their AI, when it first came in, it's been free for so long because it's been learning off of us.
Yeah.
It is a leech, it is learning, and now that it is learned enough to be worth something, we will pay for it.
But it's not perfect.
No AI is. Honestly, no AI is. You have to check the work, especially when you're mathing. You just have to. If you are blindly trusting something AI spits out, you're going to have a problem.
Yes. So in this case, this other example, the AR aging report was actually showing a payment. And when you inspected the payment, it was actually 100% applied to all invoices. So there should be no reason that an AR aging report would show a payment in that condition. And I have two here. That's not a Roman numeral. That's Intuit Intelligence. When I asked it to explain it, because I was like, okay, you did so well the last time. I'm going to give you another opportunity to tell me where this number is coming from. And it went through all sorts of gyrations of using the payments and applied invoices. And because I was saying the payment was dated on whatever date it was, and it was only looking at that one day instead of globally, when you have payments tied to invoices, you want to look across those dates. The root cause, after it went through this gyration of, no, that's not what I meant, tell me it this way, I realized that they had invoices that were dated in the future that were applied for this payment. So today's date of March 3rd, they had March 31st invoice that was being paid by that. So in the future, when you run an AR aging report, there is an aging preference called current or report date.
Yeah.
And
I use that all the time.
And by default, it's report date. So you run an AR aging report today, it's only looking at everything that's paid up until this day.
That date.
So the future date ones were showing as negative because they were already applied, but they were not being inclusive in there. So we were able to address their workflow thing.
Was that not a generalized thing that was known? I always like that, because if it's, hey, Sharon, can you run me, I want to see what everybody owed at the end of the month. And then I'd be like, here's what they owed, but here's what they owed at the end of the month, but what's been paid as of today. Because anyhow, I just always thought I always thought that was a really helpful feature.
Yes.
See, I said something. I'm going to say 3 nice things every time. What is it?
Wow.
2 hugs and a punch in the jugular. That's how I do it.
And a throat punch. But yeah, it wasn't a commonly known thing from my perspective when people would call in, because it was a common thing. Did you check this? And they're like, what's that? So either they ran all dates or they changed that preference to report date or current on the aging reports. And now we did a cohort at School of Bookkeeping about an introduction to AI. We had a certified prompt specialist. I called him a promptologist, to be able to talk about customizing ChatGPT for accountants. So if you want to take a look at that, you can review all the recordings. I'm trying something crazy where you can pay what you want. Whatever it is that you feel it's valuable, go ahead. If you think it's worth nothing, there's a minimum. but so it's one, I think I said it at outrageously low, just enough to keep the lights on. All right, and then I know we're
Dan, you don't need to eat, right? Good.
None of that. I know we're running over. If you can stay, that's great. If not, we will share the recording afterwards. If you got to go, appreciate it. Intuit Accounting Suite updates. So there are user groups and realm consolidation, which is going to be something that you might want to, if you're in Intuit Accountant Suite and you want to get the most out of Intuit Accountant Suite, realm consolidation is going to be something that you want to pay attention to. So user groups, you'll be able to create custom groups for your users in your team, so that you'll be able to categorize your clients by that grouping. So you'll be able to see those types of things. So as far as realm consolidation is concerned, because the books close and the client insights are going to get the most out of those features if you have all of your clients under one Intuit Accountant Suite. That isn't always the case for a lot of people. They created different logins. They accepted, maybe a team member accepted the invitation under a different accountant user and QBOA. They could be all over the place. So ideally, you want to transition all of that to one firm. And that's what realm consolidation is all about. But there are a lot of considerations when it comes to choosing which one is who wins, right? So there's billing, who's paying for it, paying for the subscription, integrated applications and who set them up, whether you're using Pro Connect Tax Online, the user access to to your clients, and the timing of all of this. I did a workshop on the realm consolidation process, the resources that QuickBooks and Intuit have made available for that. So I combed through a lot of those things and I put them in a blog that you can access there for free. All right. And yes, if you're not part of our Facebook group, please do join. It is a wealth of information.
I think we're over 18,000 now, isn't it? Is it 17.8? I thought it was like 18.5.
It was hovering at 18,000, so I'll have to double check. But the really cool part is virtually half of the people are active inside of the group. So it is really a testament of people helping people. And there is an Intuit
everybody. That's a Vince Vaughn nonprofit organization. People helping people, for anybody that watches movies. Sorry.
There is an Intuit presence there, but it is not designed to sidestep the normal processes, especially if you require an escalation. This is not a way to circumvent that. But please give as much as you take. Now, of course, the drawbacks of Facebook is it's on Facebook, right? So you're subject to the noise that goes on in Facebook. But of course, you can specify where you get your noise from. If you want to do that, search in groups is horrid. So trying to find a previous post that you knew or you saw it float by on the feed.
They're like, this doesn't exist. You're like, I'm staring at it on the other screen, but thanks, Zuckerberg.
Yeah. Yeah. And as best as we try, we do try to get the spammers and the bad actors out of the group, but sometimes they slip in because they set up their robots to answer the questions appropriately. We got to put in like a trick question in there so that it
a captcha that you can't read and you have to reset 15 times. Thanks, Google.
And we also can't categorize or mark the best answers. So that's part of the challenge of the Facebook groups, but it's there and it's really useful.
Already launched that.
Already launched the last poll question.
Sorry.
All right.
I launched it before everybody left.
Any closing remarks there, Sharon?
No, this was a lot. This was a lot of information, but good information, stuff to look into. I think somebody was asking, you'll go in and look through. I gave a couple people your email address. You guys don't forget, if you have questions about Intuit, you really want to get into things, Dan has School of Bookkeeping. He teaches. This is what he does for a living. This webinar is just to show you how completely brilliant he is. And School of Bookkeeping is where you go to actually learn it and maybe throw him a bone or two while he's teaching it to you. So don't forget that. As you see, Dan does these slides. He is researching all of this. I just show up and make snide remarks. That's all I'm here for. That is it. I bring zero value to this content.
Because if you need to help scaling your stuff and being a limiting factor in your own business, like I was a victim of my own solution.
Dependency
you need someone
trap.
like Sharon. Right. You need Sharon in your life and going into her clone and conquer so that you can actually clone yourself and earn back
like
some
Jim
of
Carrey.
your time. Mr. What was that one? Multiplicity.
No, you're apparently not watching the news lately. That's some current Jim Carrey's clone.
Yeah, the hair thing.
No, the face mask, but yeah, come on over, guys. I teach you anything in my head. Just so you wonder what I do on demand. So if you say, hey, Sharon, how do you do this? I will literally go make a video and teach you how to do it. So come on over, free through end of March. So might as well join now. And if you join now and tell us that you're here, I'll send you a book.
Yeah, maybe even sign it.
I might.
Next time, we are going to actually be combing through books review versus books close and talk about the feature sets that are in both and the feature sets that are unique to either one. So to talk about the march
books review.
March towards the payment, the end of the beta, where they're going to be charging you for books review or books close. The feature in Intuit Accountant Suite, we'll be talking about that next time on the QB Power Hour. But you do need to sign up for or register for that particular webinar because we are going to be going through this exercise of making them individual webinars to register for. So we appreciate
and don't you worry, we'll spam your emails. We'll make sure you guys get the notice. We'll spam the hell out of you until you join. And if you don't, I'm going to get the Affirm guys to come knock on your door.
We can find them. Yeah, we tied it all together.
I'm in Vegas, guys. I'm in Vegas. I know people.
All right. Thanks again for joining us. Sharon, it's lovely to see you. We'll see you in a minute when we do our postmortem. And have a great day, everyone. We'll see you next time on the QB Power Hour.
Bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the QB Power Hour podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to support our amazing sponsors. You'll find them listed on our homepage at qbpowerhour.com. And if you're getting value from the show, we'd love it if you left us a review wherever you get your podcasts. Your feedback helps us grow and reach more accounting pros just like you. Until next time, keep powering up your practice with QB Power Hour.